Every morning, the emperor of the most powerful empire on earth whispered 9 words to himself, words that shaped his destiny. He ruled millions, commanded legions, and carried the weight of Rome. Yet his greatest battle was not fought on the battlefield, it was fought within his own mind. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, faced betrayal, war, and loss. But through it all, he remained calm, clear, and unshaken. He knew what few ever master: control your thoughts, or your thoughts will control you. As Epictetus once said, you cannot control the world outside you, but you can control the world within you. And Marcus lived by that truth. These weren't just morning habits, they were mental weapons, a system to rewire your mind for clarity, strength, and peace. Today, you're about to discover the 9 morning rules of Marcus Aurelius, the same principles that built an empire of discipline and a mind that no chaos could conquer. Because the truth is simple. Your mornings don't just start your day, they shape your destiny. Part 1, Rule 1, Win the Inner Battle. Before the world wakes, before the noise begins, there is a moment, quiet, sacred, invisible. It's the moment where you decide who will win today, your mind or your mood. Marcus Aurelius called this moment the inner battle. He wrote in his journal not for fame, not for others, but to remind himself of a timeless truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Every morning before he faced the empire, the armies, and the endless demands of Rome, he faced himself. Because the first enemy of every human being is not the world outside, it's the mind within. In the year 170 AD, during the Marco-Manic Wars, Marcus would wake before sunrise. His generals waited outside his tent for orders, but Marcus remained silent. Wrapped in his cloak, he sat alone and breathed. He wasn't planning his military strategy, he was preparing for his inner state. He knew that if he lost the first battle of the morning, he would lose the day. And if you lose enough mornings, you eventually lose your life. Modern science now confirms what Marcus understood centuries ago. According to research from the University of Nottingham, the average person has over 6,000 thoughts per day, and nearly 80% of them are negative or repetitive. That means more than 4,000 intrusive or useless thoughts fighting for control of your attention. The inner battle isn't poetic, it's neurological. Marcus didn't have neuroscience, but he had awareness. He knew that your first thoughts in the morning are like seeds that shape the soil of your day. Plant anger and you harvest conflict. Plant gratitude and you harvest peace. So what did Marcus actually do each morning to win this invisible war? In his book Meditations, he wrote, "When you arise in the morning, tell yourself today, I shall meet the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful, but they cannot harm me." It wasn't pessimism. It was mental armor. By expecting difficulty, he disarmed disappointment. He didn't pray for an easy morning, he trained for a strong mind. Modern Stoics call this practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. It means imagining the challenges you might face so that when they appear, you meet them with calm instead of surprise. Before you touch your phone tomorrow morning, touch your thoughts instead. Ask yourself, who do I want to be today when life tests me? Because life will test you. But if you've already chosen your mindset, you've already won half the battle. Neuroscientists have discovered that your brain is most programmable within the first 20 minutes after waking. They call this the theta state, a window where your mind absorbs beliefs more deeply than at any other time. Marcus didn't know that word, but he lived it. His morning meditations were a daily mental reset, a form of rewiring, long before modern science gave it a name. When you wake up and check notifications immediately, you surrender that power. You hand over the control of your mind to the chaos of the world. Marcus Aurelius would never begin his day with noise, only with noticing. Now let's imagine 2 modern people. Alex wakes up, grabs his phone, and scrolls through chaos messages, news drama. Within minutes, his peace is stolen and his day becomes reactive. Meanwhile, Sarah wakes up and takes 3 deep breaths. She writes one line in her journal, "Today I will respond, not react." That one decision changes how she speaks, how she listens, how she leads. Science calls this intentional priming. Your brain filters the world according to your focus. You become what you prepare for. So tomorrow morning, try this short practice, a modern ritual inspired by Marcus himself. Sit in silence for 1 minute. Notice your thoughts like clouds passing across the sky. Don't fight them, simply observe. Then whisper to yourself, today, I will meet challenges, but they cannot harm my mind. Finally, write one line. I choose calm over chaos. That's it, 2 minutes that can completely rewire your morning, your mood, and maybe your life. Marcus Aurelius once said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, and it all begins with the first thought of your day. Before the world wakes, there's a battle. No one sees a battle between your higher self and your habits, your wisdom and your impulses. The question is, who will you allow to win? If you win the inner battle, you win everything else. Because a trained mind is the greatest empire you can ever rule. In the next part, we will explore rule number 2, accept the uncontrollable. The principle that freed Marcus from anxiety and how it can free you too. Stay with me. The empire of your mind is just beginning to awaken. Part 2, Rule 2, accept the uncontrollable. When Marcus Aurelius opened his eyes each morning, he didn't ask, what do I want today? He asked something deeper. What is within my control today? That single question became the foundation of his peace. Because Marcus knew the universe is vast, unpredictable, and beyond any emperor's grasp. He ruled Rome, but he never tried to rule the world. He only sought to rule himself. In Meditations, he wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. These are not just poetic words, they are survival tools. Think about it. Every day, most people fight a war. They cannot win the war to control things they never could traffic, weather, opinions, outcomes, people. We drain our energy trying to bend the world instead of training our minds. Modern psychologists agree. Studies from Harvard University show that nearly 47% of our waking life is spent thinking about things that are not happening in the present moment. And every time our mind wanders toward what we cannot control, our happiness decreases. It's called the illusion of control, the belief that if we worry enough, plan enough, or push enough, life will finally obey us. But it never does. Marcus didn't live in a peaceful world. He faced invasions, plagues, betrayal, and the death of 8 of his own children. Yet he remained calm, thoughtful, and compassionate. Not because life was kind, but because he accepted that life was not meant to be controlled. He practiced what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control, the ability to separate what depends on us from what doesn't. He wrote, some things are in our control and others are not. Within our control are our own opinions, impulses, desires, aversions, in short, whatever is our own doing. Everything else, fate, chance, the will of others, those belong to nature, not to us. So how do we apply this ancient wisdom to our modern chaos? Imagine waking up and making a simple list each morning, 2 columns on the left, write, what I can control. On the right, what I cannot. You might write, I can control my attitude, my effort, my response. I cannot control traffic, my boss's mood, or yesterday's mistakes. It sounds simple, but it's transformational. Because what you name, you can release. And what you release no longer rules you. Marcus understood this better than anyone. When a rebellion broke out at the northern frontier, his advisors panicked. But Marcus remained composed. He told them, the obstacle is the way. That simple line, centuries later, inspired millions through modern Stoicism. He believed that obstacles are not interruptions but instructions. Every setback hides a lesson. Every failure carries direction. Even the Roman historian Cassius Dio wrote that Marcus faced disaster with the calm of a man who already accepted the outcome before it occurred. That's the power of acceptance. It doesn't mean resignation. It means clarity. It means knowing the difference between what deserves your energy and what doesn't. In today's world where everything demands attention, news, social media, arguments, headlines, this rule is your shield. You cannot stop the storm, but you can stand still in the rain. You cannot silence the noise, but you can choose what to hear. That's Stoicism, not indifference, but inner freedom. Science supports this too. Neuroscientist Dr. Judson Brewer found that people who consciously label what they can and cannot control show a 35% drop in stress levels within a week. Acceptance literally rewires the brain's response to uncertainty. So here's your morning exercise, simple but profound. Step 1, breathe deeply 3 times. Step 2, ask what's in my control right now. Step 3, accept the rest and let it go. You'll feel the shift, the tightness loosens the mind, clears the heart, slows down. Because peace doesn't come from control, it comes from clarity. Marcus believed that when we fight what life gives us, we suffer twice, once from the event and once from our resistance. The Stoics called this the second arrow. The first arrow is pain. The second arrow is self-inflicted suffering, worrying, replaying, regretting. When you accept, you stop shooting the second arrow. And if you think acceptance makes you weak, remember this: Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth. Yet he wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." That is not weakness. That is wisdom wrapped in strength. So the next time something goes wrong, your plans fall apart, someone disappoints you, life feels unfair, pause and remember this rule. Focus on what you can control. Accept what you cannot. Respond with calm, not complaint. The modern world might call it emotional intelligence. The Stoics called it virtue. Either way, it's freedom. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start choosing. You stop trying to control outcomes and start mastering responses. And when you do, you become unshakable. Marcus proved that peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of perspective. If you can master this rule, if you can wake up tomorrow and accept the uncontrollable, you'll walk through chaos with the calm of an emperor. Because when you no longer need to control everything, nothing can control you. In the next part, we'll dive into rule number 3, remember death, Memento Mori. It's not about fear, but focus. It's the reminder that makes every morning matter and every breath feel alive. Stay with me, the journey to rewire your mind continues. Part 3. Rule 3, remember death, Memento Mori. When Marcus Aurelius looked at the sunrise, he didn't see another ordinary day, he saw a reminder. A reminder that life is fragile, temporary, and fleeting. He knew that every dawn might be his last. To the modern ear, that sounds morbid. But to the Stoics, it was liberation. They called it Memento Mori, remember you must die. Not to invite despair, but to awaken presence. Marcus wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Those weren't the words of a pessimist. They were the reflections of a man who understood time's value better than anyone who ever wore a crown. Because when you remember death, you finally begin to live. He didn't fear death. He feared wasting life. As Emperor of Rome, Marcus saw death, daily soldiers who never returned from the frontier, friends lost to the plague, children who didn't survive winter. 8 of his own children died before him. And still he woke up each morning to write, to lead, to serve. He used mortality as motivation. He understood that the awareness of death is not darkness, it's clarity. Modern psychology agrees. In a study from the University of Kentucky, participants who were gently reminded of death showed higher gratitude, deeper empathy, and greater purpose in daily life. In other words, remembering death makes life more meaningful. Marcus lived this truth. Each morning he wrote not to escape reality, but to face it. He knew that pretending well, live forever, makes us careless. We postpone joy, delay forgiveness, and waste hours chasing what doesn't matter. But when we remember that time is limited, we start to see clearly. Think about your own mornings. How often do you wake up and rush, scrolling, complaining, chasing? But if someone whispered to you, you might not see another sunrise. How different would your morning feel? Would you still rush? Would you still waste time on resentment? Or would you breathe slower, love deeper, and thank life simply for letting you wake up? That's the power of Memento Mori. It doesn't make life shorter, it makes life richer. Marcus wasn't the only philosopher to live this way. Seneca wrote, let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. Epictetus said, keep death and exile before your eyes every day, especially death, and you'll never have a mean thought, nor will you desire anything excessively. This wasn't obsession, it was perspective. And here's the paradox: the more you accept death, the more alive you become. You start to say, I love you before it's too late. You take the walk, make the call, forgive the wound. Because suddenly later doesn't feel guaranteed, and that urgency brings meaning. In 2015, a Harvard study followed over 1,200 people across 10 years. Those who practiced daily gratitude or mortality reflection reported a 40% increase in life satisfaction and emotional resilience. Why? Because when you remember that nothing lasts forever, you stop taking everything for granted. Marcus Aurelius turned that awareness into a ritual. Every morning he reminded himself, this day is borrowed. Let me use it well. That sentence guided his every decision from politics to parenting, from the way he spoke to his servants to the way he led his soldiers. It shaped his compassion. It humbled his ego. It gave him strength in chaos. So how can you apply this rule today? Try this morning reflection. When you wake up, look at your hands. They move because your heart beat again, something 150,000 people around the world won't experience today. Whisper to yourself, I am lucky to be alive. Then ask, if today were my last, how would I live it? You'll notice your focus shift. Trivial worries lose weight. Small annoyances dissolve. You stop chasing perfection and start cherishing presence. That's Memento Mori in action, not an invitation to sadness, but to clarity. Marcus saw that death equalized everything. Kings and beggars, generals and slaves all meet the same end. And in that equality he found peace. He wrote, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live while it is in your power, be good. This is not about fear, it's about focus. When you remember death each morning, you cut through illusion. You realize that the only time that truly belongs to you is now, and the only thing that matters is how you choose to live it. So tomorrow morning, don't rush to your phone or your calendar. Pause, breathe. Remember that this day, this sunrise might never come again. Then live like it's your first and your last. That's the secret. Marcus knew every man dies once, but the wise man dies daily in his mind and is reborn with purpose every morning. And perhaps that's the greatest paradox of all. When you learn to remember death, you finally learn how to live. In the next part, we'll explore rule number 4, focus on service. Because once you've made peace with mortality, the question becomes, how will you use your limited time to serve something greater than yourself? Stay with me. The journey to rewire your mind continues. Part 4, Rule 4, Focus on Service. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world, yet he didn't see himself as a ruler. He saw himself as a servant of Rome, of reason, and of nature itself. He wrote, what is not good for the hive cannot be good for the bee. Those words carry a quiet brilliance, a reminder that we are not separate from the world. We are a part of it. Marcus knew that real strength was not measured by what you could take, but by what you could give. Every morning he asked himself a simple question: how can I serve the common good today? That question changed everything. It guided his actions, softened his ego, and kept his power from corrupting him. Because to Marcus, life wasn't about comfort, it was about contribution. He believed that the meaning of life was not found in seeking pleasure, but in doing one's duty with excellence and integrity. He once wrote, a man's worth is measured by the things he pursues. So what do you pursue each morning? Comfort, approval, distraction, or contribution, purpose, and progress? In a world that glorifies self-interest, Marcus taught selflessness. He ruled not for his own glory, but for the good of the empire. When a plague swept through Rome, he didn't hide in his palace. He walked among the sick, organized aid, and sold his possessions to help the poor. That's not just Stoicism, that's leadership. And science confirms what Marcus intuited centuries ago. Research from the Journal of Happiness Studies found that people who regularly help others experience a 24% increase in long-term happiness and a measurable drop in anxiety. Why? Because service rewires the brain. It moves your focus from me to we. It silences the ego and awakens empathy. Marcus lived by that rewiring every day. He knew that when you serve others, you serve yourself because you align with the natural order of the universe. He wrote, we were born for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids working together. To the Stoic, service wasn't just charity, it was harmony. Every part of nature plays a role. The bee serves the hive. The tree gives shade. The river nourishes the field. Only humans, Marcus warned, forget their purpose and chase self-centered dreams. He said, stop arguing about what a good man should be one. That sentence is both a command and a challenge. Because real service doesn't announce itself, it acts quietly, consistently, and with grace. Think of a modern example: a nurse who works double shifts to care for strangers, a teacher who believes in a student no one else notices, a parent who sacrifices sleep to provide opportunity. These are the modern Stoics and seen emperors of compassion. Marcus would have honored them more than kings. And this is where the Stoic path becomes profound. When you shift from asking, what can I get, to what can I give, your entire identity changes. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become an architect of meaning. Because purpose is born the moment your life becomes about more than yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do every act of your life as though it were your last." That doesn't mean act with fear. It means act with full presence. To give your best even in small things, as if the world depended on it. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, before you rush into your own worries, try asking the same question Marcus did. How can I serve the common good today? Maybe it's helping a colleague. Maybe it's listening without judgment. Maybe it's leading with honesty when it's easier to stay silent. It doesn't have to be grand. The smallest act done with great intention can change everything. A 2021 study from Stanford University found that consistent small acts of kindness increase serotonin, the brain's happiness chemical for both the giver and the receiver. When you serve, your biology aligns with your philosophy. Marcus discovered this long before neuroscience existed. He wrote, "The fruit of this life is good character and acts for the common good." That's the real reward, not recognition, but alignment. Not applause, but peace. And when you live for something larger than yourself, fear loses its power, because your purpose becomes bigger than your problems. Your energy comes not from ego, but from empathy. Marcus Aurelius led armies, but his greatest victories were invisible. He conquered greed with generosity, pride with humility, and loneliness with service. So here's your challenge, your Stoic morning practice for this rule. When you wake up, write down one way you can serve someone today. Just one. Then do it without needing thanks, without seeking credit. Because true service is silent strength. By nightfall, you'll feel the quiet satisfaction that you lived as part of something greater. Marcus once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's your call to action, not to preach Stoicism, but to practice it. Focus on service and life begins to serve you back, not through luxury or luck, but through peace, purpose, and meaning. And that's the paradox of Stoicism. When you give more, you lack nothing. When you live for others, you finally find yourself. In the next part, we'll explore rule number 5, discipline over mood, how Marcus mastered his emotions to act with clarity, even when his heart was heavy. Stay with me, because learning to control your mood may be the most powerful Stoic lesson of all. Part 5, Rule 5, Discipline over Mood. Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire in the world, but the empire he valued most was the one within. He knew that the hardest person to rule is yourself. He wrote, "If it is humanly possible, it is possible for me." Those 9 words became his code, his silent vow to act with discipline, not emotion. Every day Marcus faced insults, betrayal, and chaos, and yet he refused to be ruled by mood. He reminded himself that emotion is not an order to obey, it is merely a signal to observe. The Stoics believed that between stimulus and response lies the power to choose, and in that choice lies freedom. That's not just philosophy, that's neuroscience. Modern research from the University of California, San Francisco found that emotions last on average only 90 seconds unless we choose to feed them. 90 seconds. That's how long anger, fear, or frustration truly lives unless you decide to replay the story. Marcus understood that 2,000 years ago. He practiced the art of letting emotions pass like storms, powerful but temporary. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He didn't deny his feelings, he disciplined them. Because the Stoics never taught suppression, they taught self-command. Imagine this scene. Marcus is sitting in his tent at night after a day of battle. A messenger enters, another betrayal in the Senate, another lie spread by those hungry for power. Marcus listens in silence. He doesn't shout. He doesn't strike back. He simply closes his eyes and writes in his journal, "When someone does wrong, it is because they do not know what is right. Forgive them." That is discipline over mood, responding with reason, not reaction. Modern science calls this emotional regulation. It's the foundation of leadership, patience, and resilience. Studies from Yale University show that people who master emotional control have up to 37% greater problem-solving ability and twice the stress resilience of those who react impulsively. Marcus didn't have the data, but he lived the truth. He knew that moods are waves and discipline is the anchor. Without the anchor, life tosses you around. With it, you can face any storm. The Stoics called this apatheia, not apathy, but mastery of passion. It means being unmoved by destructive emotions, not because you don't care, but because you care wisely. Marcus reminded himself daily, do not be carried away by excitement, by anger, by fear. Let reason stand tall like a tower. To live by that, he built systems, daily disciplines. He journaled every morning to align his intentions. He practiced stillness before decisions. He reviewed his actions each night, asking, where did I act from emotion and where did I act from wisdom? You can do the same. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, pause for 30 seconds and ask, what emotion is leading me right now? If it's anger, breathe. If it's fear, observe it. If it's doubt, act anyway. Because courage, Marcus believed, is not the absence of emotion, it's action in spite of it. He wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment of it. That single insight can transform your life. Because moods are temporary, but decisions are permanent. How many times have you said something in anger that you later regretted? Or quit something because fear told you to? That's the price of obeying mood instead of mastering it. Discipline doesn't mean coldness, it means clarity. It means you act according to principle, not impulse. And it's built through repetition, not motivation. Think of discipline like a muscle. Every time you resist the urge to react, that muscle grows. Every time you choose focus over distraction, patience over frustration, presence over panic, you build power. Marcus used to say, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. And a good man to him was steady, reliable, grounded. Someone whose actions are consistent, not ruled by changing feelings. So how do we apply this today? Start small. When you wake up tired but promised yourself to exercise, go anyway. When someone provokes you, choose silence. When fear whispers, not today, act gently, but act anyway. That's the modern Stoic way, steady in action, flexible in thought, firm in purpose. Because emotion is fire. Undisciplined, it burns. Disciplined, it becomes light. Marcus mastered that light. He led armies with compassion and ruled an empire with calm. He was proof that discipline is not about control, it's about liberation. He once wrote, the nearer a man comes to calm mind, the closer he is to strength. So tomorrow when your mood shifts like the weather, remember you are not the storm. You are the sky behind it, vast, steady, and clear. And if you can hold that truth, if you can act with discipline when your emotions scream otherwise, you will become unstoppable. Because mastery over mood is mastery over life. In the next part, we'll explore the rule number 6, guard your mind. Because once you've learned to master your emotions, the next challenge is protecting your thoughts from distraction, negativity, and noise. Stay with me. Your transformation is only just beginning. Part 6, Rule 6, guard your mind. Marcus Aurelius called the mind a fortress, a citadel. No one can breach unless you open the gates. He believed that everything you allow inside, every thought, every image, every word becomes the architect of your reality. He wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. That was not poetry, it was instruction. Marcus knew that life doesn't shape your mind shapes your life. Each morning he trained himself to guard the gates, to choose what entered and what stayed. Because he understood that the most dangerous invasions aren't by armies, but by ideas. He lived in an empire full of gossip, flattery, and fear, and yet he remained calm. Why? Because he refused to let the noise of others become the voice within. 2,000 years later, the noise has only grown louder. Our minds are under siege, not from swords, but from screens. A recent study by the University of California, Irvine found that the average person checks their phone 344 times a day. That's once every 4 minutes. Each time our attention, the currency of the soul, is scattered a little more. Marcus would have seen this for what it is, voluntary enslavement. He wrote, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. But to reach that retreat, you must first close the gates. So ask yourself, who and what have you been letting in? Who is living rent-free in your mind? Because every thought you host leaves a trace, a residue that colors the way you see the world. If you let fear in, you will see danger everywhere. If you let envy in, you will see lack in every mirror. If you let gratitude in, you will see abundance even in loss. The Stoics called this prohairesis, your inner ruling faculty, the power to decide what you allow to shape your mind. Marcus practiced this discipline every day. He didn't avoid the world, he filtered it. He observed events but didn't absorb them. Modern neuroscience now explains why this works. Your brain's reticular activating system acts as a filter for perception. It decides what information reaches your awareness. If you constantly feed your mind negativity, your brain becomes tuned to find more of it. But when you guard your inputs with intention and discipline, you rewire your perception toward clarity, calm, and purpose. That's why Marcus began his mornings with silence, not stimulation. Before deciding, he listened not to others, but to reason itself. He wrote, if you are disturbed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Guarding your mind means guarding that estimate, refusing to let your peace be dictated by the noise of the world. Imagine waking up tomorrow and deciding that your mind is sacred ground, that not everyone, not every post, not every opinion deserves entry. You begin the day like a gatekeeper, deliberate, selective, aware. You choose what to read, what to listen to, what to believe. Because your attention is your life and every moment you give it away, you weaken the walls of your fortress. Think of it like this. If your mind were a kingdom, would you hand the keys to anyone who knocked? Would you let anger rule it? Would you let fear sit on its throne? Marcus never did. He ruled from within, calmly, rationally, intentionally. He built rituals to protect his mental empire. He journaled to clear the dust from his thoughts. He walked alone in the gardens of Rome to cleanse his spirit. He reminded himself each morning, today I will not let another man's opinion disturb my peace. You can do the same. Here's a simple practice, the Stoic mental filter. Every morning when you wake up, ask yourself 3 questions. What will I let into my mind today? What will I reject? What will I create inside it? Then throughout the day, be your own guardian. When negativity approaches, pause and ask, does this deserve a place in my fortress? If not, close the gate. In a world where everyone wants your attention, guarding it becomes a radical act of self-respect. Marcus would say it's the highest form of freedom to choose your thoughts instead of inheriting them. And when you guard your mind long enough, something extraordinary happens. Silence becomes strength. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop chasing noise. You start creating peace. Marcus once wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. That sentence could stand as the mission statement of Stoicism itself, because your outer world will always be uncertain, but your inner world can be invincible. So tomorrow morning, before you scroll, before you listen, before you speak, pause. Imagine your mind as that ancient fortress, strong, still, untouched by chaos. And remember, what you let in today will become who you are tomorrow. Guard it wisely. Because if you don't protect your peace, the world will steal it. If you don't control your thoughts, someone else will. And if you don't build your own mind, society will build it for you. Marcus Aurelius lived 2 millennia ago, but his wisdom has never been more relevant. He proved that the calmest mind can exist in the loudest world if you know how to defend it. And that's your mission now, to live like the emperor who built an empire within, to protect your mind like a fortress no storm can breach. In the next part, we'll explore rule number 7, practice gratitude in advance. The Stoic secret to transforming struggle into strength and scarcity into abundance. Stay with me. The empire of your mind is growing stronger every day. Part 7, Rule 7, practice gratitude in advance. Before Marcus Aurelius began his day, he didn't ask for blessings. He thanked the universe for what he already had and for what was yet to come. He wrote, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Marcus didn't wait for good things to happen before he felt grateful. He chose gratitude as a state of mind, a daily discipline. The Stoics called this practice premeditatio gratiae, gratitude before the gift. They believe that by appreciating what you already have, you train your mind to see abundance instead of absence. And when you practice gratitude in advance, even pain becomes purpose. This was Marcus's secret weapon. He faced betrayal, illness, and loss, and yet he thanked life for the chance to endure them. He saw every difficulty as an opportunity to become better, not bitter. He wrote, everything that happens is right for me. It fits the pattern of fate and reason. That's not blind optimism, that's wisdom. Because gratitude in the Stoic sense isn't a feeling. It's a philosophy. It's the decision to say, even this is a gift. Modern science now supports what Marcus practiced 2,000 years ago. Studies from the University of California, Davis found that people who keep a daily gratitude journal sleep 20% better, experience lower blood pressure, and report 30% higher emotional resilience than those who don't. Why? Because gratitude literally rewires your brain. It activates the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for happiness, empathy, and decision-making, and suppresses the amygdala, the brain's fear center. In other words, gratitude turns survival into serenity. Marcus used this power every morning. Before facing the empire's burdens, he trained his mind to see fortune even in fatigue. He didn't wait for peace to feel grateful. He practiced gratitude to create peace. He once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Gratitude transforms obstacles into instruction. It takes the why me and turns it into thank you for the lesson. Think about how radical that is. To thank life before you receive its gifts. To thank pain for teaching you patience. To thank loss for teaching you love. To thank failure for teaching you focus. That is not denial, it's the highest form of acceptance. And it's powerful. Because when you practice gratitude in advance, you become untouchable. Circumstances may change, but your peace does not. You're no longer waiting for the world to be perfect, you find perfection in the moment. Imagine this. Two people wake up to the same storm. One curses the rain, sees only darkness, and hides. The other looks up, smiles, and says, "The fields will grow today." The rain is the same, the mind is different. That difference is gratitude. So how can you practice this stoic gratitude every morning? Here's a simple ritual, just 3 steps. First, anticipate. Before your day begins, whisper 3 things you're grateful for, 1 from the past, 1 from the present, 1 from the future. Gratitude for what was, what is, and what will be. Second, reframe. When something goes wrong today, ask, what hidden gift might this contain? This shifts your focus from reaction to reflection. Third, record. At night, write down 1 thing that challenged you and thank it for what it taught you. Do this for 7 days and watch your perception transform. Because gratitude isn't about changing life, it's about changing your lens. Marcus lived by this truth. He thanked the gods not for comfort but for character. He thanked the universe not for calm but for courage. He wrote, "Be content with what you have and wish no more." For the man who is not content with little will never be content with much. The world tells us happiness is something to chase. The Stoics teach that it's something to notice. Right here, right now. And when you live this way, when you start each morning with gratitude instead of expectation, life starts giving you more reasons to be grateful. Because your energy changes, your focus sharpens, your peace deepens. The paradox is simple. The more you give thanks, the more life gives you to thank for. Marcus Aurelius turned this into his armor. When others saw chaos, he saw cause for gratitude because every event, even the painful ones, became fuel for growth. He wrote, "The world is change. Life is opinion. Change is inevitable, but your opinion, your perspective is your power. So tomorrow morning before you touch your phone, touch your heart. Take 1 deep breath and whisper, 'Thank you. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for this chance. Thank you even for the struggle.'" That is how Stoics begin the day, not with demand, but with devotion. And when you do this long enough, you'll find that gratitude becomes your default setting. You'll stop chasing happiness because you'll already be living in it. Marcus once said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." Gratitude is that harmony. It's the sound of your mind aligning with the rhythm of life. So wake up tomorrow not asking, "What do I lack?" but declaring, "Everything I have is enough. And even the challenges ahead are gifts waiting to be unwrapped." Because when you practice gratitude in advance, you don't just prepare for a better day, you prepare for a better life. And in the next part, we'll explore rule number 8. Prepare for discomfort, because true gratitude is tested not in peace, but in pain. And the Stoics believe that strength is built where comfort ends. Stay with me. Your reprogrammed mind is nearly unbreakable now. Part 8, Rule 8. Prepare for discomfort. Marcus Aurelius didn't chase comfort, he trained for chaos. He believed that ease makes you soft, but challenge makes you strong. He wrote, "Ask not for things to happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and you will go on well." The Stoics called this premeditatio laboris, the premeditation of hardship. It means preparing your mind each morning for discomfort, not as punishment, but as practice. Marcus knew that comfort breeds fragility, and the mind, like the body, grows through resistance. He took cold baths in winter, marched through rain with his soldiers, and slept on the ground, while emperors before him lay in gold. Because he understood every small hardship is a rehearsal for greater strength, he wrote, "The obstacle is the way." Not a metaphor, a mindset. To Marcus, adversity was not an interruption, it was instruction. He didn't avoid discomfort, he invited it. Because he knew that life would test him whether he trained for it or not, so he chose to prepare. Modern science now echoes his wisdom. Researchers at Stanford University found that controlled discomfort, like cold exposure fasting or physical exercise, improves mental resilience, lowers stress hormones, and increases dopamine levels by up to 250%. That's right, discomfort doesn't just build endurance, it builds happiness. It's why soldiers, athletes, and thinkers throughout history have sought challenge, because struggle sharpens clarity. Marcus was one of them. He ruled during war, famine, and plague, yet his mind remained calm because he treated difficulty as a teacher, not an enemy. He wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it." He trained that judgment daily. When storms came, he didn't curse them, he studied them. When pain arrived, he asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" That's the Stoic way to use every hardship as material for mastery. Seneca, another Stoic, said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Marcus lived that truth. He saw discomfort not as suffering, but as sharpening. So how can you apply this in your mornings? Start by choosing one act of controlled discomfort each day. It doesn't have to be grand. Take a cold shower. Walk instead of drive. Skip your morning scroll. Meditate when your mind resists silence. Run 1 mile when you feel lazy. These small moments, done deliberately, forge your mental armor. They teach your brain that discomfort is not danger. Neuroscientists call this stress inoculation, training your nervous system to stay calm under pressure by gradually exposing it to controlled challenges. Marcus practiced this instinctively. He didn't wait for peace to learn calm. He practiced calm in the storm. And when real hardship came, betrayal, loss, exhaustion, his mind was already prepared. He once wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because life doesn't move in rhythm, it hits it, throws it, tests, and only those who've trained their minds to take a hit can rise again stronger." Discomfort, Marcus believed, was the price of wisdom. It burns away illusion, pride, in weakness until only truth remains. When he was on campaign leading soldiers through mud and hunger, he wrote in his journal, "If you are distressed by anything, remind yourself nature gave you the strength to bear it." That is the Stoic promise: you already have everything you need inside you. Discomfort doesn't take your peace, it reveals it. Modern psychologists now know that people who regularly practice voluntary discomfort, cold showers, fasting, silence, discipline, show up to 40% greater stress tolerance and lower rates of anxiety and depression. Why? Because when you face chosen struggle, you stop fearing unchosen pain. You become anti-fragile, someone who grows stronger when tested. Marcus Aurelius embodied this. He didn't seek pleasure, he sought purpose. He didn't escape hardship, he extracted meaning from it. He said, "When you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, remember you were born to act." That single sentence contains a lifetime of discipline. It means you exist to move, to create, to endure, to grow, not to hide. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for comfort, reach for courage. Before you seek warmth, seek willpower. Do something small that feels hard and smile through it. Because every time you choose discomfort, you train your mind to stop running from life. You start living it. That's what Marcus knew. Comfort is temporary, but strength is permanent. And strength is not built in moments of ease, but in moments of resistance. Think of your mind as steel. The fire that tests it doesn't destroy, it refines. Each trial burns away weakness, leaving only resilience. And one day when real adversity arrives, the unexpected call, the loss, the heartbreak, you will face it differently. Not with panic, but with presence. Not with fear, but with focus. Because you'll realize you've already trained for this. Marcus would tell you, what injures you instructs you. Let every difficulty become your teacher. Let every struggle become your sculptor. That's how Stoics grow, not in comfort, but in confrontation. Not by escaping pain, but by embracing it. So prepare for discomfort, welcome the challenge, and remind yourself this is how greatness is born. Because in the quiet hours before dawn, when the world still sleeps and your mind whispers, stay comfortable, that is your moment of truth. And if you choose courage over comfort, you will rise like Marcus did, strong, steady, unshaken. In the next part, we'll explore rule number 9, journal for clarity, how Marcus used the power of reflection to turn chaos into wisdom and confusion into clarity. Stay with me, we're about to uncover the final key to mastering your mind. Part 9, Rule 9, journal for clarity. Before sunrise, the most powerful man in the world sat alone, not on a throne, but at a wooden desk. No servants, no audience, just ink, parchment, and thought. That man was Marcus Aurelius, and each morning before the empire demanded his attention, he demanded his own. He wrote not for fame, but for freedom to clear the fog of his mind before the day began. His book Meditations wasn't meant for anyone else. It was his mirror, his conversation with his soul, a place where he wrestled with ego, anger, fear, and purpose. And through that silent ritual, he found clarity that even emperors rarely achieve. He once wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less, or rather do what's essential, and do it as nature intended." Those words didn't come from a philosopher sitting in comfort. They came from a man under pressure, writing by lamplight after war loss and sleepless nights. Because journaling for Marcus was therapy before therapy existed. It was reflection turned into resilience. He knew that unexamined thoughts become unseen chains, and that writing breaks them. Every morning he poured his confusion onto paper until wisdom revealed itself. He wasn't seeking perfection, he was seeking truth. Modern neuroscience now confirms what Marcus intuited 2,000 years ago. Writing down your thoughts reduces stress by over 40%, activates both hemispheres of the brain, and transforms emotion into understanding. It's called cognitive offloading, moving chaos from your mind to the page so your thoughts stop controlling you. And Marcus practiced this daily. He didn't wait for calm to write, he wrote to find calm. He didn't wait for answers, he wrote to discover them. He began each day by asking himself, what am I afraid of today? What am I grateful for? What can I control? Those three questions became the compass of his life. They gave him perspective when the world seemed unbearable. Because journaling in the Stoic sense isn't just writing, it's thinking clearly on paper. It's how you turn the noise of the mind into the music of reason. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Writing exposes those imagined fears. It turns shadows into shapes you can finally understand. And here's the beauty of it, you don't need to be a philosopher or emperor to do the same. You just need a pen, 5 minutes, and honesty. Tomorrow morning before you check your messages or your tasks, open a notebook instead. Write 3 lines. That's it. Line 1, what I fear. Line 2, what I hope. Line 3, what'll do. That simple ritual practiced consistently can reshape the way you think. Because clarity isn't found in control. It's found in reflection. And every time you write, you separate yourself from the storm. You begin to see thoughts are just weather. You are the sky. Marcus knew this better than anyone. He faced betrayal, grief, and the constant uncertainty of life. And yet his writings are calm, compassionate, centered. Why? Because he didn't react to life, he reflected on it. Journaling gave him what kings, wealth, and armies could not: self-understanding. He once wrote, "Men seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea and the mountains, but nowhere can man find a more peaceful retreat than in his own soul." For Marcus, the page was that retreat, and each morning he returned there to clean his mind before the day began. In a modern world filled with distraction, this practice is more vital than ever. We scroll endlessly, consuming thoughts that aren't ours. But journaling is the opposite of scrolling. Scrolling fills, writing empties. Scrolling distracts, writing distills. When you write, you reclaim your mind from the noise. You stop reacting and start realizing. You stop performing and start perceiving. So if you ever feel lost, write. If you ever feel overwhelmed, write. If you ever feel uncertain, write. Not for the world, not for likes, for yourself. Because the act of writing is the act of returning to the core of who you are, beneath all the noise. Marcus wrote to remember his own humanity. You can do the same. He would tell you this: don't waste time debating what a good life is. Live it. And journaling is how you begin, by becoming brutally honest with yourself, by naming what matters and discarding what doesn't. The Stoics believed that every morning is a new life, that yesterday's mistakes die at dawn, and today's choices give birth to who you are becoming. When you write, you choose who that person will be. So tomorrow morning, take a breath, open your notebook, and ask yourself, what kind of mind do I want to carry into this day? Then write until the fog clears. Because clarity isn't something you find, it's something you create. And the blank page is where that creation begins. Marcus Aurelius proved that you can rule an empire and still feel lost. But if you rule your mind, you'll never be lost again. So never start your day without reflection. Never let your mind run unexamined. Never let the noise of the world drown out the whisper of your own reason. Because journaling is not about recording your life, it's about reclaiming it. And when you do it each morning, something incredible happens. You stop living on autopilot. You start living with awareness. And your mind, rewired by reflection, becomes unshakable. That was Marcus's real secret. That was the hidden empire he built. Not one of marble or soldiers, but of stillness and strength. And that is the empire you're building now, rule by rule, morning by morning, word by word. Because in the end, the Stoic path is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were meant to be all along. Marcus Aurelius never imagined that his private reflections, written alone in the silence of dawn, would one day guide millions. His empires fell, his statues crumbled, but his words survived. Because truth does not age, it endures. Every morning you stand where Marcus once stood, between chaos and clarity, distraction and discipline. And the choice you make when you open your eyes will decide the shape of your life. So tomorrow, before you scroll, before you rush, pause. Remember the emperor who ruled himself first. Remember that greatness is not found in crowns or titles, but in the control of your own mind. If this message awakened something in you, share it. Let others rise with you. Subscribe to Making Life Better, where ancient wisdom meets modern purpose. Every week we bring Stoic philosophy to life, simple, practical, powerful. Together we are building an empire of calm minds and strong hearts. Now tell me in one word, what will you rule tomorrow? Comment your word below. And if patience is your prophet, comment discipline. Let's see how many modern Stoics are ready to rise. Rewire your mind. Rule your day.